There we go, buddy.
Yeah, now we're live.
Yep, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live stream. It's been a while. Happy 2025. I haven't done a live stream. Oh, there's Kashi's back too. So Kashi, right now, so Kashi's here. Say hi to Kashi, but he's going to share it. So when you share it, you freeze, and so but we're live
So,
now, you guys. So go
all
ahead and
right,
freeze and share it,
I'm
and
going
then
over to share it.
okay. And then if you want to, oh, well, he just disappeared. He'll come back. If you want, you can open another tab on your laptop or another window or Facebook if you have the app. And then you could share it to your page too, as well. And I'm going to share it on my personal page. Yeah. And we're gonna figure that out real quick, just so we can get as many people. And if you're watching this right now, it's a little. We're doing it a little bit later than I typically do because you guys are all around the world. And so if you guys are watching this, if you wouldn't mind hitting that share button, if you're watching this on X, if you're watching this on YouTube or on Facebook, hit that share button. And did you do that?
Yep, I shared it.
Okay, fantastic. So while I'm sharing it, do you want to tell everybody who you are, and do you want to give a little quick introduce everybody to you and where you live and what you're all about, man?
Yep, I will do. So I'm Joaquim. I'm from France. I'm half Spanish, so I also speak Spanish, of course. I've been in dog training for like 25 years now, almost. I started doing dog training in the military, in the French Navy, like the equivalent of your Marine Corps. It was not my path. I went in by accident and I just got caught by it. And then I become addicted to French ring and tracking in the military also. And now I quit the French Navy in 2015. I did 5 years reserve. At the same time, I used to work for big US vendors and buying dogs for them in Europe or providing dogs for them. And after a few years traveling, I decided to settle and bought a huge compound in south of France for boarding, pet hotel. We have like 130 kennels or something.
Wow.
And also doing breeding, and I dedicate myself to mostly French ring competitions. This year I will be taking part to the French ring selection to go to the French ring final in June, hopefully. And also teaching Nipopo.
Okay. And then what kind of dogs are you currently breeding?
I breed Belgian Shepherd, Malinois, and Dutch Shepherd.
Okay. And were those the dogs that you were getting from America?
Everything. Everything. A lot of jewels, of course, because that's what most of the police departments or military wants, dual purpose dog. And also like hunting dogs, labs, or for TSA or things like that.
Okay, fantastic. Well, welcome, man. I was able to meet you finally in person back in October. Was it October, right? At Silver School, at Nipopo Silver School in Missouri. And unfortunately, I've spoken with Kashi quite a bit. How you doing, Kashi?
All good, man.
Awesome. But unfortunately, I was unable to meet you in, what was it?
During my silver school.
Was that in May?
No, that was also in March.
March. Okay. Yes.
This year.
Yeah. Well, 2024.
Yes.
It's already the following year. But I got pneumonia. I was in Costa Rica, and I thought I got the flu, and ended up staying a few days in the hospital. And but one of the things I was looking for most is meeting you, Kashi, and I can't wait to someday shake your hand and meet you and work some dogs together. and you've been on the live stream before.
Yes.
But even though you've been on before, will you give people a quick introduction on who you are and where you're at and what you're all about?
Well, mine is just a very ordinary introduction. I practice law for a profession, but I started developing a passion for dog training. It just got stronger during COVID when I found myself having a lot of time. I've always had dogs. My parents have always had dogs, so it didn't happen overnight. It's just that they were always household pets. When I moved to Delhi in 1999, away from my hometown, that's the time when I probably had the opportunity to have my own dog. And that's when I truly discovered living with my dog all alone, because back then I was just a bachelor. So I would go to work, come back, and do whatever it takes to keep my dog busy. One of the things that we started doing with my first dog was a boxer pup, whom I acquired from some Israeli couple who were leaving India. So that pup was bought by me at maybe about 4 months old. Okay. So we bonded pretty well. It was just me and him. And everything he did back then, tearing up my place, making my place mess when I'm not around, looked like fun back then. All right, because all I had to do was clean up. But somewhere down the line, I started figuring out we need to make this more compatible. We need to not make it that I come back from office and I have to clean up the office, my home first. That's when I truly started engaging myself with the dog, finding out ways to keep him mentally busy so that he's not physically active when I'm out at home. So that's how typically my story began. Later on, I acquired a German Shepherd and a Rottweiler. Same thing again, just dabbling around with pet training, literally like come, sit, don't disturb me, don't bark, don't go here, don't come there. Lots of don'ts. So that typically is what I also understand is pet dog training. Yes. Don't bother me, don't bark at the doorbell, don't come here, don't eat there, don't piss here. So I wasn't any different. I just did the same thing. Probably I had good temperament dogs who took all the bullshit. The real trouble started when I found myself having a lot of time during COVID, and I started observing my dogs a little more closely. And that's when I started to realize that, hey, my dogs can do much more than don't do just this much more.
Yes.
All right. So that's how my journey began. And I started Googling, I started YouTubing, I started following a lot of influential people. First amongst them was Michael Billen with her Muzzle Mania. I always say this. That video blew me apart. And that's when I started investigating good dog training videos. And here we are.
Yeah, and it's often been said, when we're working with, or we're with two people that come from different facets of the dog industry. I, like you, Kashi, I'm in the pet dog world primarily. And what I've always been told is in the working dog world, we're always making dogs go, go, go. And in the pet dog world, we're always making the dogs stop, right? And that's what attracted me to learn from working dog people, is because I wanted to know the other side of the coin here. How do we get dogs to have the motivation, what we call ignition? And we'll be talking about that today. But how to structure it in a way that fulfills the animal, but also enhances the relationship with the pet dog owner. And so that's what led me eventually to Napopo. And I've had a lot of different teachers, and that's where I found a really missing link, I'll say, and especially in the pet dog world, of understanding of why does a dog do what they do, right? And when you had the boxer, you come home, the dog has gotten into everything, made a mess, because it's the dog's idea. But how do we get the same passion? I asked myself, how do we get the same passion where the dog thinks it's their idea, but it really is our idea? And we structure it in a way where the dog feels like they are fulfilled, and then also that they're doing things that they think that they invented, and sometimes they have.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you.
So how did you find Nepopo, and how did you, Joaquin?
Also by accident. In the military, it was really old school training, and I couldn't fit in it. I was trying my best to do as I was told, but it didn't match with who I was or who I am yet. And I was looking for something else. And through internet, I discovered Bart and starting to look at some videos of him and interviews, the newsletter, things like that. And then I went to meet a French ring guy who went to a couple of Bart seminars and start working with him. And that's where everything started.
Well, and Kashi, I might need you to mute. If you mute again, I hear a little feedback, and I think it is from. Do you hear that, Joaquin? When we talk,
yeah.
So if you mute again, Kashi, you just did a cough and muted. Okay. So when you talk, Kash, then you're gonna have to unmute. But in the meantime, just mute it for now because we get the feedback because you were the only one without the headphones. So yeah. So we're good to go. Yeah, I saw Bart in at a conference, a dog training conference. And he was doing things where we put the people and they do role playing, and I know that they did that at the Silver School, right? But it's very much more involved in Gold School, and also that's where I wanted to help my customers understand the dog's perspective, and what better way to do that than allow the person to learn the way that we're teaching these dogs. And so that's one of the biggest things that I saw from when I watched Bart initially, and then I met Michael, and then she has the pet dog aspect of it, and then she taught me about the relationship and the importance of the relationship, and not just with the dogs but with the clients as well, and that's something that I carried away with that too. So fantastic. So Bart, or excuse me, Kashi, Joaquin, you guys have been doing. Are you guys going to start a podcast?
For my part, I don't think so. I'm not good at that kind of thing. I'm still a dog trainer.
What do you think, Kashi?
Well, I like pretty private conversations. Not sure people are interested in knowing what I think all the time. But yeah, I do enjoy long conversations. And ever since I got back from the Nipopo Silver School, I find myself talking to a lot of my gold friends. And they're pretty interesting conversations. I'm just not sure if people do find them interesting. Like I talk to Joaquim all the time, and we talk about everything. Something as stupid as what my pup is doing now and what should be doing. Not sure it's learning process for everyone, but certainly it's for me because I like to engage myself with dog trainers. So I'm not sure about a podcast, but yeah, private conversations, hit me up, man. I'll take the call.
Cool. I just remember you guys mentioning something like that to me, and I wanted to just follow up and see if that was down the pipeline, but who knows? Maybe in the future. But that's why we have you guys together here on my podcast. And I want to say, everybody, thank you. I do have a Patreon page, and I was able to buy a laptop, so I'll be doing these podcasts a little bit more. And I wanted to just give my sincere gratitude. Thank you very much for your generosity, and my Patreon supporters. If you guys are interested in joining my Patreon page, I'll put a link in the bio down, or the link in the comments down below. And for all my Patreon subscribers, thank you so much. We should be having more of these coming up here in 2025. Is my goal to do quite a bit more, and also maybe to do the weekly podcast, start that again as well. So check that out. And if you guys haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, consider doing that as well. So what is new, you guys? What is when you got back, and what do you say you talk about your pup? So you just had some pups, and talk to me about what you guys like to talk about, and what those conversations look like, and what you've learned from each other.
Okay, I'll go first. I met Joachim during my silver school. I had to stay back in the Springfield for about a day extra, and everything was expensive for me. And Joachim was very gracious to allow me the use of his room, and we shared a room together. I found that in the initial hours of me staying with him, he was quiet all by himself. I mean, he had his earphones on and he would just not talk to anybody, including me. And I'm a very talkative person. I like to talk, I like to engage. And I'm like watching this guy like, hey, don't think you're doing me a favor, man. Talk to me, acknowledge my presence here, right? And he's like on his own. And finally, I had to sit and talk to him and cajole him. And finally, when he opened up, this guy is a wealth of information. You talk to him about dog training, he will talk to you. I don't think anything else interests him apart from talking dog training. So I spent the next many hours, I think till he took his flight, we spoke about dog training, we spoke about French ring. He explained to me how he does, what he does. And when he speaks, you see, he offers me his perspectives, and his perspectives are fairly original. And in originality, you learn a lot more. So even when he speaks about what he does as a matter of daily tasks, you realize that he has a structure in his mind, how he operates. And these things, hi Elizabeth, and these things are, because when I got back, I do have my own 14, 15 dogs of my own, 2 horses and some cattle. All I needed to understand was that how do I structure my day in a way that doesn't tire me out, leaves me enough time for my creativity, and also to do other things other than dog training. Sometimes we get ahead of ourselves and try to do everything at one time, and we end up doing nothing. So the important thing that anybody has to learn when you have multiple dogs is you need to wake up with a plan, or rather go to bed with a plan in mind. So when you wake up, you'll know how to execute them. Joachim's got about 130 kennels. He can't do it without a plan on day-to-day basis. So that's there. I mean, it sounds simple. It should be simple, but we complicate it because we don't give it much thought about it. And that's what I learned about Joachim: plan and structure your day.
Yeah, even with a plan, it's always difficult because you have always unexpected, but it helps a lot. I don't believe much in multitasking. So if you are not organized and meticulous, you can't be efficient for everything you have to do. And it's also I also apply it to dog training. If you want to reach the highest level of competition, you have to sacrifice a lot, and you need a lot of time. Not only for training, because training is just a small part of the iceberg. You can't train a dog 8 hours a day, it's impossible, but you can think about it, plan it, organize it, work on every little detail that will bring you to the elite. To top dog trainers, they are always thinking about their dogs, the dogs they're training, and how they will do it. And it's a constant self-questioning. And like you said, Bill, it's about why the dog does, how he does it, and how can I make him do without him thinking I'm forcing him. And it's something that sometimes you try to teach something a dog and you think he understands what you want, but he understands something completely different. And so if you don't have a plan and you can't move fast enough to work on these little details. So I try, it's not my nature, but I try to be very, very organized.
But it's not your nature, huh?
Nope, not at all. I'm kind of a messy guy.
Did you learn this in the military, do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Military changed my life for the best.
Okay.
I could re-enlist tomorrow. Right now, the Navy calls me and say, "Hey, man, come back." I will.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for what the military brought to me. I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Well, and a lot of trainers, especially because like Kashi was saying, you're original. And Kashi, you're one of the most original trainers that I know as well. In fact, that's one of the things that attracted me to Kashi, was watching him post up the videos,
Yeah.
of carrying that dog around on the crate. And just watch his stuff, you guys. He's always innovating and always, even with the business card thing that I used to do with my dogs, and then how he did that right away with his dogs. We're all, there's something that drives us to be entrepreneurs. There's something that drives us to work with dogs, and there's something original about every single one of us that we bring. But with that originality comes it's a double-edged sword, because we try, like you said, Kashi said, when you try to do everything and be everything to everybody, you end up being nothing to nobody. And you start doing the multitasking stuff that you were saying, Joaquim, about, there's a lot of downsides to multitasking. There's increased stress. People think that you're productive, but you're actually reducing your productivity. Memory problems that happen, right? The thing that happens also when we multitask is that because we have not organized everything, then what it leaves in your brain is like a energetic residue, and it decreases your brain density, and then you get distracted very easily if you're multitasking, and that therefore brings about insufficient work, and insufficient work will bring about negative emotions when you're multitasking. And you stress yourself out. And so that's why I think it's good to have a plan. I think it's very important, if you guys are watching this as dog professionals, to think about and to remember why you're doing things, what you're doing, have a goal, but also have some type of organization. Elizabeth says, Kashi has helped you so much. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Yep. And to execute, right? So you don't get overwhelmed. And the burnout is a huge part of dog training. And so that's very important, to be organized. So what is it, if you had suggestions to make for people that are watching this, that are professionals, that are like, hey, I need to become more organized? How would you guys suggest starting that process, starting the planning and becoming organized and becoming disciplined to carry out the plan?
Go on, Kashi.
I'm not sure I'm in a position to advise the professionals, but for an hobbyist, I do have a proposal. If you are, I'd say, okay, my proposal is limited to people who are not actively in sports, because I don't do dog sports, and I don't do it for various reasons. I like to train by myself, and there are very little sports that allow you to train your dog and show your dog if you don't practice with a committed group. While I do have friends who are always very helpful out, I just feel it's very unfair, because I live so far away from the city. Having people come over and then to help me train my dogs is a lot of sacrifice on their part. Something that I cannot oblige anybody out to do it. But hey, I have dogs. My dogs have very good foundation work, which is what I could do all by myself. So what do I do with those foundation work? And this is where planning takes place. So every day I would probably kind of spend some time thinking about, what does my dog know today that I can build on it tomorrow? So I've just been dabbling with my Malinois to do some, let's say, paint work. Okay, while we are just beginning, what is the foundation work that's required? The foundation work for a painting is a good sit, a prolonged hold, like a duration in a hold, and then an ability to kind of follow verbal directions. So if you can have a dog that can sit still hold something for a longer period of time, and if he can kind of tilt his head left, right, up, down, based on your verbal direction or maybe your hand or your stick, you can have a dog do some kind of graffiti on a canvas. It's not going to be pretty, but it's still going to be his artwork. And 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 this and the most beautiful things begin with simplest. Getting a dog to sit still and not to ram his nose into the canvas is a big achievement for a dog that wants to tear up a canvas. So you start with something as small as that. Can I have my dog not tear up the canvas? Can I have my dog not drop the brush and smudge his nose into the canvas? Can I have my dog not turn around and whiplash me with the paint and not the canvas? So when you actually go about doing it, you realize that there's a lot that needs to be planned out. So you can't have a dog that's bustling with energy to do this task, because this task is not about energy, or it's not about a lot of dopamine. It's more to do with calm and collected behavior. So have you done that? Have you put in the necessary groundwork to build that kind of a behavior, rather than just jumping into the behavior because you saw a video that inspired you? I always say this, like, I have learned a lot from the Bellans even before they taught me. In saying that, what I mean is that when they put out so much content out there, and it's all good free content, all it takes is maybe one viewing or maybe multiple viewings depending on your rate of absorption. But there is so much of knowledge in that. So going back to the very first video that got me thinking about dog training, the Muzzle Mania. The Muzzle Mania video is all about, yes, you need ignition from the dog to dive himself into the muzzle, but you also need a very focused approach into the muzzle. You can't have a dog that jumps into the muzzle and flings the muzzle around, or look at the muzzle as a retrieve item, or look at the muzzle like a reward. So you see, everything there requires component training. And component training is very easy to train if you understand the aspects. So do we have something that the dog already has to go into the next part of the training? If you always have kibbles in a muzzle, then the dog is always going to look for food in the muzzle. He's not going to look at it as a behavior that needs to be done to get the reward. So I could just go on about this little bit, but ultimately these things constitute a large part of your planning. Have I done this to be able to do this tomorrow? So hobbyists need to take a reality check and not just dive into some behaviors, because you're never going to get that working for you. Especially if you have a dog like my Cooper and my Weimarners who are very crazy about it. Yeah, let's look at this video again. You see, the dog is not flat. He's fairly active. He knows the behavior. But the whole idea of the dog being for about few seconds of waiting on the pedestal is him building up the momentum to do the behavior. That kind of control is what you need in the beginning. As much as this video is all about Muzzle Mania, this is also about the dog willing to wait for the cue and not just diving into it on his own. There's so much. Look at the perfect sit, the frontal sit. It's beautiful. If you have a dog that doesn't maintain contact with your waist, the muzzle is going to fall off. So he needs to nose bump you, which is the underside of his jaw. There's so much to it.
Well, that's the one that started it all for you, huh?
Yeah. For me, it was, yeah. Beautiful.
Well, I think stability, right? That's what I hear.
Yeah, and it's beautiful because it's not messy. All the details are worked up.
Yeah, and I think people, they want to get to step 10 before they've done step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, right? And this is perfect because it is the foundation, right? And the foundation is that's what's important, right? Is to get something solid to build on, because when we got a good foundation, we can build to the sky. But if we don't have the foundation there, then when we start to build, it all falls apart.
Yeah, correct.
Right. And I like what Kashi was saying. What does my dog know today that I can build on tomorrow? And so what do you think, Joaquim, about organization starting, and like, what do you do? You're going to be working here. It's what, 6:30 there?
Yeah,
seven,
7.
Yep.
It's
So-
about 7 now. Organization is like the first step. One is ignition. It's, for me, everything starts there. If you don't have ignition, which is gasoline in your car, so if you don't have gasoline in your dog, you are not getting even to step 2, because where do you get the will to do from the dog? And if the dog has no will, no desire for doing, you will not get anything. And a lot of people think that it's intrinsic, but it's not. You can build it. And it takes time, it takes practice, but it has to be built. They have intrinsic desire and motivation for things they like, and we used to build the ignition we want, but you need to build it, or you are rejecting like 95% of the dogs. So my first step is always put gasoline in the dog, create ignition. And it's something I do daily. Even like my current actual dog is French Ring 3 dog, is 4 years. You could think that, okay, it's done. I've put gasoline in the car. But I entertain that every day on a daily basis. Even if it's 5 minutes, I'm still building this ignition every day, so I can go further in my training and push and put more pressure and to go touch that impossible perfection.
Can you give me an example?
Well, with my dog, it's pretty easy. Just taking out of the crate and holding the ball and just not giving it right away, I'm building that ignition. And just ask him to sit, a little patience, and I see him getting fired up and, okay, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. And the more I hold and the more I ask, and that's it. Or food, it works with everything, because I build that behavior. And so every day I do it like 2-3 times a day, 5 minutes. As soon as I have a little time, even if I'm not training, I will do it every day. And I built all my daily plan of training like that. Like in the morning, I have my little rituals. He gets out of the kennel. He has a huge heavy dumbbell to muscle his neck. So if he wants to run free in my compound in the morning, like this morning, 5:30, there's nobody, everything is closed, and he runs around with his dumbbell and do what he wants. Having his dumbbell is free time for him. And when he's done, I just wait for him outside the office, smoking a cigarette and having coffee. And when he's done, he comes back, go to his pedestal, I pick up the dumbbell, put the e-collar on, and he goes to his crate. And in the evening, I open the crate, he goes by himself on the pedestal, and he's like winning, and he has fire just to go back to his kennel, because he knows that his daily paycheck is in it. He will have the rest of his food. And I built everything like that.
Because the dog, just like we like to be organized, the dog likes to be organized too.
Yeah.
The dog likes to know what to expect. And when we look at the dog, we're looking at the things that are intrinsically, the dog's are already desiring intrinsically. So we can use that and utilize that to build the ignition.
Well, that's what I do. There's 1,000 ways to roam. Everybody does it different, but that's, with this dog, at least that's how I have done it. probably another dog, I might do it differently. The idea, the final steps, the goal will be the same, but the way to go to it probably will be different because the dog will be different.
That's very important that people need to realize too, is that it's not just a blanket strategy for all dogs.
Nope.
We need to understand the dog as an individual and know that what this dog desires might be different from the dog right to the kennel next to you, might be different from the dog that is a different breed, might even be different from the dog that's the same breed, same litter.
Yep.
Right? But one dog in the litter desires one thing, the other dog in the litter desires something else. So it's important to know the dog, what they like, and so we can utilize that to build a relationship, to build a foundation, and then to build the structure, the routine of what that dog can expect, and then we can follow through with the training.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, that's great stuff, man. And that's the ignition. That's the, the starting of the engine, or the starting of the fire, right? The starting of the pot of water to get the water boiling, as Michael and Bart talk about, right? We're not going to cook any spaghetti in cold water. We have to get the ignition. We have to get the water hot, and then we're cooking with fire.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people are missing.
And then you can utilize that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a lot of people are missing that because, like you said earlier, they want to go to step 10.
Sometimes they get there, but it's on a rocky foundation.
Nope.
And so what happens when we don't have a good foundation? What happens then? The distraction that comes in becomes, detrimental to the task that we're asking of the animal.
So what happens? So what happens when you don't have a good foundation is that sometimes you see the behaviors building and you're encouraged by the appearance of the behavior building, even though you've not put in the rock solid foundation. And when at an appropriate time, when there's pressure, the cookie crumbles. Now, when the behavior crumbles, that instinctively, because you've been doing it for so long, you tend to apply corrections. And that seems to be the most fatal error, because then everything crumbles. The dog never recovers from the correction. The dog never has understood the behavior. The dog does not have a default behavior to go back into, which was probably the previous step or the step before that. You see, one of the things that I tell people who I'm fortunate enough to be approached by a few people who want to learn from me. And when people approach me, I have to first dispel any expectation. Look, I can't teach you what I'm teaching my dogs, but I can teach you how I'm teaching my dogs. So what I teach my dogs is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Step 5, if my dog fails, he immediately goes into the default behavior of step number 4, which is rock solid. Work on it, reinforce it, then go back to step 5 again, rather than a dog abandoning the entire exercise. And now you have to start back all the way from 0. Yes. And that's an important part of training, which is also why sometimes I find it easy to create newer videos on almost daily basis, because I'm just adding layers. I'm not doing anything new. It looks new because it's just the next step presented in a different form. So one of the things that I probably do is that if I have a dog in a kennel who is just trying to get out of the kennel, just is barking in frenzy, I just throw the dumbbell or a ball. I open the door and I just throw the dumbbell and shut the door. And I wait for a second and then I open the door. Most of my dogs pick up the dumbbell and then ram into me. And that's when I know I'm already playing with them, I'm engaging with them. And so I know, okay, the game for today is something that I can use as ball or a dumbbell as a reward, as a reinforcer. The dog's already telling me what he wants and what he wants to play with. If a dog just comes out of the kennel without holding the ball, then me running after the dog with the ball is useless. I got to find another reinforcement. Sometimes the dogs tell you what they find reinforcing. Use that. Most of my dogs like ball, but I do have few dogs who absolutely ball is not a reinforcer to them. I cannot even use a ball as a distraction because they don't find it as a reinforcer. So sometimes I use a ball as a behavior. Pick up the ball, take your food. Pick up the ball, take your food. Bring the ball back, take your food. So the ball is never their ultimate reward. I do have 2 dogs in my kennel who are not very ball crazy, but I can train them to mimic as if they do love the ball. They do love the ball because it's a behavior they're actually doing it to get to the reward, which is maybe food or maybe just my proximity. So some part of ignition training is also identifying what drives a dog. So when Joaquim talks about building ignition, it's an important part of training. But what is a dog ignited by? What is he driven by? Or what drives him? Rather than imposing what I have as a reward, understand what the dog wants as a reward. And you're already well into training stage. It took me a long time to understand that 2 of my dogs were absolutely not ball crazy. I spent a lot of time being the prey, being the dancing monkey, being an active handler, and it just didn't work. It takes time to figure these things out. So it's only when you find a dog that doesn't go with your previous experience of training a dog, that's when you start learning. And you start to learn something new that particular day.
Yep. And when you think you've got it all figured out, then you're going to meet a dog that's going to tell you that you don't know what you're doing. Whenever the dog is doing, whether it be barking at the kennel, whether it be begging for food, whether it's showing interest in something, I call that negotiation phase, negotiation time. And so now is our time to negotiate. You want this? I want this. How are we going to make that happen? And sometimes that's hard to legislate for people that don't have the eyes to see that.
Yep.
Right? And so that I get what you're saying, Kashi, about I cannot train your dog to do this. I can only show you how I train them. Now it's up to you to understand this negotiation aspect. Does that make sense, you guys? The negotiation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. How to negotiate better.
Yeah. If
you don't understand what the dog wants, you can't give him what he wants.
The meaning of negotiation is like find a way through, or find a way over, or find a way to the answer, right? Find a way to bring about
compromise.
This discussion. Right. Bring about this discussion here. Like this is what I want. And so when I see that the dog is showing me interest, the intrinsic desire, I'm paying attention.
Yeah. Correct.
That's what I do with puppies. The key to good negotiating is identifying what you want or making you believe that this is what you probably want.
Yeah. That's what I do with puppies to prevent them from barking all day long in the kennel. Like when they are barking, I kind of never go see them. I wait. I just wait, and when they are done barking and probably asleep, then I go and okay, let's go play. I put it on my terms, because if I go every time they are barking, they will just bark all their life to bring me. So, as you say, it's about negotiation, and give the dog what he wants when you want.
Yes, and be the boss. I mean, be like you are structuring this relationship in a way that the dog thinks that this is their idea, as we were talking about earlier, right?
Yep.
And so when the dog, and becoming the dog by proxy is important to kind of understand how the dog would think. And so the dog, you're thinking the dog is barking, the dog is maybe frustrated from being contained or whatever it is. And the dog wants my attention to spring them from this reprieve, to get them out of this. Mm-hmm. But what I want to show them is that the quickest way that they do that is by being calm.
Yep.
And when we show that picture over and over and over again, go ahead, Kash.
My dog is barking, but I got to go because he's in a crate. He may just pee. So I'll be back in a second.
Okay, buddy. I'll bring you up when you come back. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense, man. And just like when you do have that relationship, just like Kashi is right now, sometimes we realize, oh, okay, this was meaningful because the dog knows that this
Yep.
is communication. And then that's the goal here too, is to become connected to the dog where we know what they're meaning by expressing themselves and either vocally or by with the behavior as well. So
Yeah, absolutely.
so the first thing that I think when a dog, I don't even look at the dog. If I'm in the area or anything, I want the dog to know, hey, look, I don't hear this.
Yeah.
I hear your silence. I hear your calmness. I go and I reinforce when the dog is calm. That's why I have dogs laying around me here.
Yeah.
And it's later at night here in Seattle, so it's after 10:30. So they're already crashing out for the night. So it's a little different. But even if it was in the morning time, the dogs would be in this room and they would just lay here because they realize that they've seen me sitting here talking to this box here, this screen, whether it's a Zoom session that I do with my clients or whether it's these live streams that I do, and they realize that they're not going to get what they want. They're not going to get my attention. In fact, they might even get a little trouble if they become too much of a nuisance in here. So but there's also times, like you said, with the puppy that we can utilize what we do to show them what we expect.
Yep.
Makes sense? Go ahead, Kash.
Joaquim, how do you train your pups? What are the first few things that I do? Because I have pups on ground, so I could always learn from you.
Training is a big word for puppies. I use everything they offer. What I will train is what I was telling about being silent and calm. That is something for me unnegotiable. The first thing I want in a dog is stability. So
is what?
Stability. A dog being stable. Like Bill, my dog is now in the office and is great, and he lays down, relax, never barks or whatever. That's I like and I want for my dog. So from puppy, that's something I will build. And then I try to let them puppies as much as possible. And I use everything they offer and I reinforce it. And the only thing I will train and build on every day is food. I will work. It's my primary reward. So I will use everything to pay them with food. As soon as they are 2 months old, every puppy has a single kennel. They're not mixed around themselves anymore. And so I teach them loneliness because they have to learn to be alone doing that. And it's also very important for me because as soon as I come in play, I'm the center of their world. And if they want something from me, they have to earn it. So I will use maybe a sit, maybe a down, or like my kid has a new puppy, a female Malinois we bought a few months ago, and she likes to run. And she runs around a tree like a crazy, and it's self-rewarding behavior for her, and I'm rewarding this because later I will use it. So it's puppy I don't train. I reinforcing, I use things, I build things, and I prepare the ground for future. And I build ignition with food. They earn their pay every day.
And you observe what the puppy is offering by the behavior that they're doing by themselves too, I assume.
Yep, correct.
Well, and here, I want to show what your puppies are here real quick with Kashi, because I think I have this one here. So first thing I do is puppy come out and feed. So explain what you're doing here, Kash. Up are you? Can you see Kosh? Oh, right here. They chose to mute you. You got to unmute yourself. It says that you muted. There you go.
Yeah, I can see that.
So this is
Yeah,
your pup.
3 pups have already left home, and this is the remainder of the pups. I'm planning to keep about 2 to 3 in this litter.
And they're going out, going potty right away. Look at
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
All at one time. Sending you click, and then this is going to be their food.
Yeah. So I normally I would probably just click and place the food right where the pups are, but I'm also trying to encourage them to move about to look for the food. So building in a little bit about the hunting behaviors. Every day the food is kept in different places. In the enclosure that the pups have access to, the food is always kept in different places. So they move about, look for about. I'm trying to always identify the pup which leads the pack, the pup which is more dependent on me, hey, where's the food, rather than the pup, hey, I think I know where the food is. So that helps me in identifying which pup to retain for myself.
Oh, sounds like your business is starting to get rolling.
Yeah, the employees are coming in.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we just had a comment, dang late stream. It's late for us here in the States, but it's early for Joaquin is in France.
It's midday for me.
And then you're in India, so that's why we're doing a little bit of a late stream. And if you're watching this after the fact, then that's why we're late here. And and I think that seeking behavior. There's a couple important things that were just said. One, isolating the puppies. Right, we're starting to isolate them because there is a toughness that needs to be exhibited, because these dogs are not all going to be a pack for the rest of their life. In fact, pretty soon, just like Kashi said, you got 3 of them that have already in their new homes, and if they only have experienced the loneliness or being alone without prior experience, it's a difficult situation. And that's the meaning of being tough, is the ability to deal with hardship, to cope in a difficult situation. But when we look at it, this is what the dog is going to endure, because they are going to be by themselves a lot of times in a single house with just the family and the dog. Or if the people have multiple dogs, the dog will still be by itself, even though we're integrating them into a new pack. And so that dog needs to have the fortitude to be tough, to be okay with being by themselves. And then the other thing that was very important was how Kashi, in order to bring about seeking behavior, we were starting to move the food around and letting the dog realize, hey, if I look not just with my eyes, but with my nose, I will find the reward that I seek here. And it's not just seeking behavior with a big dish. Sometimes I do what's called the feed the chickens, right? Where I'll actually take the food and scatter it in my field. And then that's how you're eating today, dog. So you're seeking behavior. We're teaching the dog to not just rely on me to bring them a dish, which sometimes we do, but to rely on themselves to get the reward that they seek and be satiated, get full by using their eyes, their ears, their nose, and their natural ability to seek and to learn from that.
Yeah, correct. I need to go attend something for 2 minutes, guys. I just come back.
Okay, we'll bring you right back on when you do, buddy. Okay, cool, man. Well, and so how old are your dogs now, Kash?
I think about 70 days.
70 days, so just over 2 months. So are they all going to new homes?
Yeah, I have 5 left. I think this is my last breeding for the next few years. So I'll probably keep 2 to 3 pups in this. And my pups are priced a little higher because, like my wife says, because she thinks I deliberately priced them higher because I don't want them being sold. So, well, I'm fond of my dogs. It could be kennel blindness, or it may not be. But it's a litter that I've bred, and it's a litter that I choose to work with. There are a few things that I've already been doing with these pups. Something that I picked up from Pat Nolan. is that when the pups were pretty young, at about 25 days old, when they were still being fed through the when the mother was nursing them, I would rub some kind of some kind of a scent on the mother's abdominal area. So when the pups are nursing, they're inhaling that smell. This is the first thing that I did. When I started moving them to solid food, it was necessary. Like, it didn't show in this video because I do it only once a day. So the first thing that I do in the morning is that each pup has to investigate a bottle where the odor is contained, and then he's allowed access to food. The first meal of the day. So I do a lot of things. I feed them like about 5 to 6 times a day. So each feed is an experience by itself to them. And I try to do this as much as possible, because I don't call this training. I just call this as introducing them to newer experiences, rather than just all of them eat. Like, they all have to eat at once. We also like to see if they're being aggressive towards each other. Are they being like resource guarding? Are they biting each other? Like the pup that initially got sold, he was a heavy biter. He would look at the food and bite the other pups eating the food. And something that I never completely understood, but somebody took fancy to that pup, and he wanted a pup that demonstrated a lot of aggressiveness. I said, yeah, go ahead, be my guest, take it. So he's out of the pack now. But the rest of the pups, I keep watching for their uniqueness. Like, there is a metal pipe that is somewhere around in the playground area. I'm always trying to figure out which of the pup is going to play with the metal pipe. It's a nice rectangular, a solid cold steel, not the nicest thing to pick up. But once in a while, I keep looking at some pups, trying to play with it, trying to hold it. To me, I'm still on the lookout for a pup who is going to hold it and walk around with it. So far, every pup has been investigating it, smelling it, kicking it around, touching it. Yeah, you see that there? Yeah, you got it. So I'm still trying to figure out which pup is going to hold on to it, and then it becomes his favorite toy, rather than the little toy, the chewy toy, the rag doll. It fascinates me to see the most uncommon things when it becomes their playmate. It's beautiful to see, and maybe that pup will be my pup. It's just one of the little criteria that I have in my mind. Yeah. So that metal pipe is still around. I'm yet to see a pup pick it up and do a full circle.
And what would you do when they do that?
No, I would do nothing, because I'm not going to reinforce it by clicking or anything, because that would just distract them. I just want that pup to pick it up and tease the other pups, run around, and that pup is my pup. That's it. To me, okay, the pup is doing something which was difficult, because so far no other pup has been able to pick it up. These are not Malinois. Maybe Malinois by now would have done it. Oh, yeah. These are Weimar. Yeah, my Kaiser would have done it as a pup, but again, not all his litter are alike. They aren't very identical pups. Like, I've done 3 breedings so far, and this is the most active litter I've had so far. So I'm also watching as each litter comes in. There were some shy litters, probably took off the mother. The mother was extremely shy when she came to me. So there are remnants of that behavior which creeps into the litter. I'm very open about it. In fact, there is a 10-minute video of the mother when she came to me like 3 years ago. She was the most suppressed dog that I've ever seen. And to make her what she is today has made me a better trainer, because it's very easy to train when you have a dog that comes with ignition, that comes with dopamine, that comes like my male dog, Kaiser. I mean, anybody could take him and they could look good in the video. But to take a dog that's slightly flattened out and to make her what she is, that kind of that takes a little more out of you, and in that process you learn a lot.
Yeah, you have to think outside the box.
Yes.
And broken dogs are the dogs that are the best teacher. Broken dogs, rejects, whatever, all the troubled problem kids are the one maybe they don't look like attractive, or nobody wants them, but for me they are just joys. They are joys, diamonds, because they teach you so much. They teach you so much that's incredible. The best thing Bart did for me is the dog I have now. He was a broken dog. He had a lot of scars, troubled behaviors or whatever, and I needed to do brain surgery for him. And when I went to golf school with Bart, I had no dog, so I picked this one. That was a reject from a litter, from a trainer, top trainer. And a friend of mine dropped it in my kennel and say, could you find room it? Say, okay, no problem. And I had no dogs to go for golf school, so I picked him up and bring it. And Bart told me, hey, you should keep that dog. There's something in that dog that I didn't saw. But I say, hey, well, Bart knows. He's been training dog for so long. If he says so, I will. And that dog taught me so much. It's just unbelievable.
I'm not sure if Cooper is a broken dog, but Cooper broke a lot of things in his previous home. So he was given to me at about 10 months old by some family friends. And that's how he came to me. So, and initially I took him on thinking he's a small dog, a small dog inside the house is a cute dog, but it turned out to be more than just a dog. And training him also, it made me a better trainer.
Yep.
Well, I think as pet dog trainers, sometimes we get dogs that have been broken through the process of trying to force them to adhere or to fit into a box that they need a little bit more patience, right? And that's where the relationship becomes key. That's where you have to have the eyes, but also have the patience to connect, but also to celebrate and find a way that's meaningful to that animal when you do have the breakthroughs and when you do understand and when you do start making progress. Somebody keeps on putting up their WhatsApp number. I'm going to keep deleting it too. It's important. People, we call it popone.
Yeah.
Right. Where we think we're building up the dog. We think we were talking about earlier. We think we have a good foundation, but once it starts to crumble, then it starts to crumble and the dog doesn't have a foundation to go back to. And then you correct it. And now you've scattered it. You've scattered all the pieces, right? And so that's where broken dog, and that's why it's important to understand how the dog got there in the first place, but how to build that dog back up in a meaningful way. And that takes understanding the particular animal. And that's why we say this will make you a better dog trainer, because it's easy when the dog is willing, able, and motivated naturally, but when we have to start to, like I said, think outside the box, when we start to have to really learn and stay in the moment with that particular dog, that's when you really, really become something.
Yeah. And a lot of people that train dogs want to be shiny and on the stage and show off a lot, but the more intense moment of dog training, the sweet spots for me and my dog training are these little moments when I'm alone in my dog and I realize, holy shit, I just make a new step and bring him I just made him better, or I just optimized his potential. And for me, that's being a better dog trainer, is that little victories every day on small behaviors that were broken or whatever, and you can build them and feel like, wow, I'm like my moment of happiness.
Do you have an example, you guys? Do you have an example maybe that you can share with us, if you think about it for a second, about like just a moment of happiness that you're talking about?
Yeah, like in French ring, we have 3 jumps. Hurdle jump with 1.20 m, long jump, which is 4.50 meters, and palisade. The dog has to climb the palisade up, go down, and go back on cue, of course. And when I get this dog, he was with a French ring trainer, and the first time I tried to make him jump, he just ran away from the field. When I say jump, he just look at me and say, run away. I'm like, wow, man, it will take time. And I was looking for a way, how can I make him like to jump? How can I make him not being afraid to jump? And I was not even looking for performance or whatever. I just like, I want my dog to like jumping. How can I achieve that? And it took me a lot of time to figure it out, and a lot of trials and errors. And at one day, it just like, okay, I will do it, and pop, just jumped. And like, it was my like wow moment. And from that day, I never had any issues anymore with the jumps.
Talking of jumps, and surprising is that when I was playing around with Cooper using a clack board,
yep,
because Cooper, I think he just came with a lot of ignition and dopamine. He was just, which is probably why he was given to me. I found that if he heard the clicker, he would just instantly jump towards me, no matter how far I am. I mean, even if it took him 3 jumps, he would just jump and come. When I started noticing this thing, I started to place it on cue with the clack board. So I would have him jump the time that he actually touches the clack board.
Yep.
And I had this on cue. The behavior is phenomenal. And there was a video by Bart Bellin where I think he was training Tomiki or another dog, I don't really recall now, where, yeah, that's a clack. And he was talking about jumps not being well timed, or jumps not being timed from a point where the jump can actually clear the obstacle. And I was brave enough to offer a suggestion that, hey, would a clack board work as an identification of a spot from where the dog can effectively mark the jump takeoff? And he said, interesting. That's it. He didn't say anything more. But I went back and said, hey, maybe I should be able to demonstrate this. And that was one of the first videos that I demonstrated, where you have a dog that uses a clack as a touchpad to clear a hurdle. He could go back, come back running, use a clack, touch, and take off. You'll find that on the Facebook. And that was probably one of the first videos that Bart shared also of my video. And that's how it began. So small things, if you just keep watching, they're happening all the time. If you can if you look at a spontaneous behavior and capture and shape it, the behavior looks phenomenal. And I've used multiple clack boards now. I have him going in different directions. And I could also now start shaping a jump from any particular clack board to a particular object. The idea as a trainer is not to work only in a training session, but to be open to training behaviors that the dog is naturally offering, even when the training is not on.
Yep.
Something that you miss if the dog is in the kennel, which is why periodically I make it a habit to have some dogs inside the house, because there are many things I just watch. I'm right now I'm looking at you. I'm also looking at my dog. What is my dog doing? If he's doing something interesting, I make a note of it and see, can it make the training better?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, keep your eyes open.
One thing a lot of people seems to have trouble with is that looking, observing, and make a note of it. And that's one thing that just boom into my eyes when I saw for the first time the movie Buck. And
so it started with this, but this is not the video. It started with this. I think that video is called Launcher. Maybe if you use as a clack as a launcher, I don't know. Like, use a keyword launcher in the search. You should be able to find it.
Okay. What were you saying about the buck?
Yes, Joaquim?
Yeah, the Buck movie, the way he worked with horses and observe him, and just by observing them, he has the small clue that brought him to find the right tool or the right approach to get the horse doing. And that vision pushed me to learn more about Buck. I read his books, and then I went to watch YouTube things about Tom Dorrance and Ray Hunt and people like that, and their approach, and that thing changed everything for me. That moment changed everything, just observing.
Yeah, this is the one.
Mm-hmm.
You see the clack?
I remember this video.
So he understands clack as a touch and as a takeoff. Yeah, I love this video.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So explain to me, how did you get him to take off with the clack? Like I said again,
it starts by observing. So when initially when I trained the clack as a touch, I would click. Like I said again, because this guy's so full of ignition, if I was somewhere closer to the clack, and every time he touched the clack, and when I clicked, he would actually leap into the treat pouch. His way of coming to me was just a leap now. And now, slowly, you introduce the concept of hurdle. So you touch, click, there's a hurdle, oopsie, he has to cross the hurdle. It just became as simple. And slowly, of course, he did understand hand directions by then. I could send him off to places and have him touch the clack. So he knew he could go and use a clack as a marker board, go in different directions. It is all about then bringing all these components together. Mm-hmm. So he understands go away from me. He understands coming to me. He understands to take off when I click. So what you don't see in the video, or I don't know if you can't hear in the video, is that when he touches the first clack, I click. So the timing is also very important. I click, and that's why he takes off. And that's why when he goes back, he doesn't take off, because there's no click. There's only clack. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it also goes to show you that the dog can differentiate the noise from the clack from the clicker, right? And so the marker is very...
Initially, of course, it did begin with, you touch the clack, you come back to me. Touch the clack, you come back to me. And then in the previous video that you shared, it started with touch the clack, come back to me. It became later, touch the clack, stay there. So now it became a distance marker. You go, but you wait. You go, but you wait. The release later on was only through the clicker and not through the clack. So and that's how you build distance.
Let me see here. This was the first one that I shared.
Yeah, so you will see in this video, in the first rep, he just touches and comes back. Or I think we already progressed here, but you see that him pausing?
Yes.
That's the whole thing. So that he's not just touch and come, touch and come, touch and come, which is the easiest. See, now he's already learning different clacks. You see that? He's going to different places. So there were two clacks. And now you see, now he'll go and touch where the clack is, stay there. So you can send him to different places. And now I use a clack as clack, come for a bite, out. You want to rebite, go and touch the clack. Okay, out, go touch the clack. Okay, it's not perfect. Yeah. See, touch. Yes. This is just working on heel and fronts. Wait, come, put the clack in different places. Use it as a this little sport that I was trying to figure out. This vertical clacks. You just touch them. Yeah, this I was trying to do a little bit of a poor imitation of the object guard, where he touches a clack and then he comes for a bite and goes back. So something you just work around them. There are so many beautiful ideas that sport training offers, even if you're not actively competing. Pick up all facets and incorporate them in your day-to-day training.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. I have to take my nighttime supplements. My wife just brought them to me.
What does the night supplements make you do?
Magnesium, L-theanine, and apigenin. They all make you kind of sleepy, and so I take them at nighttime. So especially the magnesium. So that's what I'll be taking here shortly. But yeah, it's fantastic, man. And not only that, but it's like it's just like that seeking behavior or that toughness. We are always up in the degree of difficulty, right?
Yeah.
But just like on a thermometer, it's the degree is right next to each other, right? Degree. We're not upping the temperature.
Exponentially.
Right.
Yeah.
It's slow by slow by slow. That's why we call it degrees. And it's like we're now go underneath, right?
The most important thing is every fall should have the dog back in a very comfortable foundation state. And that foundation state becomes a launching pad to the same behavior that he couldn't accomplish in the first repetition.
Yeah.
So if a dog can't do the next slow step. The previous step must not only be a strong foundation, but must be like a comforting place for the dog to go back to in case he hasn't figured out the next step yet.
Yeah.
So you never break the dog. You're always making the dog.
Yeah.
Somebody's requesting Tommy. Do you guys know this guy, Tommy Verschuren?
Yep. I know him.
In Ohio. Okay. I'll check it out. Yeah. If you guys have any suggestions on people that you would like me to do conversations with, I'm always open to speaking to new people. And I'm always open. I like even talking to people that I've never met before because I like talking dogs.
You should speak to this girl, Sue Jane. She's an animal trainer too in Hollywood.
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah, she's done. Yeah, Sue Jane. I'll send you the link.
So, Joaquin, when you bought this place, 130 kennels.
Yep.
What was that like, man?
I bought. It's like 2 acres, and I have like big rows of kennels side by side, and every 10 kennel has a huge park where the dog can roam. That's for the boarding part. And then I have my private kennel for my breeding program and my own dogs, and they have their own parks. They are never mixed with pet dogs. Never.
So the working dogs never met with pet dogs, huh?
No, never. And so the boarding facility works all day long. And now I have like 2 people taking care of it. So it was the plan for me to have more time to train and more time to do golf schools and also time for family and everything.
Well, and I think that you and I should do one of these where we just get into your business and get into what you teach at the gold schools and everything like that as well.
Of course.
Because I'm curious, because that's a pretty big step, man. I mean, that's a lot of kennels. That's a lot of moving parts in that business like that.
Yeah, I went from home kennel where in my previous property I was living in French Brittany, and I had like 20 kennels. And I wanted to go to up my game, get more kennels. And the plan at first was to build it in the north of France because I was working with a friend of mine in Netherlands that he is a huge dog vendor, probably one of the biggest in the world. He sells like 12,000 dogs a year or something like that.
Whoa.
And I worked with him for almost 10 years now, I think. And the plan was getting closer to him to make my business more efficient. And it fails. So I had to go to plan B that I hadn't. An life accident. A guy I knew from French Ring was selling this facility. So I called him on Friday evening, say, hey man, I saw you were selling your facility. I'm really interested. Can I come over and have a look? He said, okay, come on Tuesday. And Tuesday at noon, we were signing the papers for buying the facility with my wife. And that was it. But I was already used to run big kennels from my military experience. I was in one of the biggest kennels from the Navy. We had like 60 dogs or something. So I was already used to manage a kennel, a huge kennel, manage a team. So that part for me was kind of easy.
Okay. Do you see yourself doing a kennel, Kashi? I think you're okay on the feedback or the noise right now,
right.
so you can leave it unmuted for now.
Well, I already have about 15 dogs of my own, so they pretty much taught me that I should not be doing a kennel business.
That'll do it.
It's so difficult to do this day in and day out. You can't be picking up poop, man. This is like I'm the poop master right now. Like,
Yeah,
and the one thing I've realized about the litter is when they come out, they eat and they poop everywhere, which is all right. And they're not particularly fond of the poop. So they poop and they walk around. But the moment you bend down to pick up the poop, they all get very possessive about their own poops. So you need to have fast reflexes. You need to be able to like stealthily go away and bend and scoop all in one shot. But there are pups who just jump on their own poop. It's like, yeah, so never again. Which is also why I'm stopping the breeding, because I just can't do this, and it's not very fulfilling. I just wanted to do it because my male dog is getting older, and I wanted to have as many pups from him as possible in the hopes that some pup turns out to be like him. Because I mean, I really love this guy Kaiser. He's one of the best dogs that I have. So the idea was to get something out of him, which will hopefully remind me of him. But otherwise, no more breeding, and I don't do any kennel business. I only have about 3 to 4 board and train, which I take for on a long-term basis. They supplement and they kind of pay off my kennel expenses and my staff expenses and my dog food. But my primary source is not dog training. So I practice law, like I said again. This is purely my hobby, which consumes all of my time. Like Joaquim said, top dog trainers think about training all the time. Well, struggling dog trainers also think about dog training all the time. I'm just trying to think, how can I be better than yesterday? And some of the things is that I've learned that I should not be a breeder. All right. I should not be running kennel businesses, because kennel business also means that you need to have a good HR policy. You need to know how to manage people. And managing people is not my biggest asset. I can't get things out of people. It's one of the reasons why I went into advocacy, which requires 0 staff. Like, you need to know the law so you can argue the law. I do hobby training because it's my dog and I can do, and which is also why I don't do sport dog training. Sport dog training requires a village to help you out, especially if you're a beginner. So I try and seek out avenues where I excel being in my own, being comfortable as my own, and then doing something on my own. So maybe that's what pushes me to kind of invent newer games to keep my creativity up. What can I do alone with my dog today without the use of a helper?
Yeah, I love it. What about you, Joaquin? Are you're breeding still? Everything? How many dogs do you have personally?
Now probably, I think 17.
Jiminy Christmas.
But they are not in the house. I only have 1 dog in the house.
Okay.
So
I
only have 1 dog in the house. Oh, my kid is coming now with his pup. He's walking his puppy around.
Yeah, see.
Leo,
Here,
come.
I'll put you on solo. Here, hold on. Let's see.
Yep.
There he is.
Yeah. So that's the little Valkyrie. She's like 3 months old now.
Okay, how old is your kid?
And he is 15.
Okay.
He's 15.
That's how you start, man. You know, you'll find out really quick.
Yeah, and he will take the business after me. So it's his plan already. Next year, I will go to a special school in France where they learn how to run a breeding program, how to manage a kennel and everything. And when he turns 18, he will come around and work with me.
Okay. You have a legacy, just like
Yep.
Kaiser for having the legacy with the puppies, and you got a legacy with your kids too, for the business.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not always the case. Sometimes the kids are going to do anything but work with dogs.
Yeah. My eldest does that.
It's with my family too. I think my family was a dog-loving family, but after seeing my obsession, they hate me if I speak about dogs.
What about your oldest kid?
Yeah, my eldest, he enrolled in the Navy, like I did, and now he's at boot camp. And they are, because it's a small world, so they know that I was a kennel master in the Navy, and they told him, "Hey, do you want to go to dog school and be a dog handler and then a kennel master like your dad?" And then, no way, I hate dogs. So no, he wants to be an operator. He wants to go to like your Navy SEAL school.
Oh, cool. Special Forces. Yeah.
Yep. That's his plan. We'll see. And
nothing grows under a big tree. Remember that.
No, yeah. Yep.
Well, and just like we were talking about, every individual has their own wants, desires, intrinsic, motivations. That's the same for our kids too. Some of them are going to be like dad. Some of them are going to be their own, march to the beat of their own drum.
Yep. Yeah, you just have to accept it. As long as they're happy, they can do whatever they want. I don't care. I just want them to be happy doing what they do.
Well, I think dogs with kids, it gives them a unique opportunity. That's what I tell my pet clients, right? The dog and the kid relationship allows the kid to learn life skills from managing a dog, doing the husbandry stuff of cleaning them, combing them, bathing them, taking care of them, feeding them, all that stuff. But then how to deal with conflict when the dog doesn't listen. What do you do? How to be a boss. And take these skills that you can apply later on in your life if you learn correctly from that relationship with the animal.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think it's good that my kids, Leo, the one with the puppy, he has always been great with getting good relationships with dogs, and I give him every puppy is for him. He trains the puppies, then they get crazy and do crazy shit, and he built a lot of ignition, and then I take care. He's awesome doing that. He knows how. Even when he was like 4 years old, he played better with the puppies than I did. So he has a rare talent. He's good with puppies. He's good with animals in general.
One of the business ideas that I was playing around with is I try to invite prospective pet parents with the proposal that, hey, you could board in with me and live my life for a couple of few days, like let's say a weekend, and learn what it takes to look after a dog. And I thought it was a pretty cool business idea. And in my head, I was thinking, I'm going to have a lot of people who are going to sign up. I'm going to have a lot of people spending the weekends, and they're going to help me in my kennel management. And hopefully that will translate into them buying pups from either me or my friends, and then them taking training classes from me. But all that happened was few people signed up, and when they saw how tough it is, they decided not to buy any dogs.
You're your own worst enemy, and it's important to know that not everybody has the passion that we do. No. Right. And that's why I like doing these conversations with people, because the other people that have the passion, a lot of people, some of the live streams that I do get plenty of views, but it's not that big of an audience. And I kind of like it that way, because the people that do watch these are some of the best and the most passionate people that I know. And I'm honored when I hear from people that have watched these or the people that I've talked to. But that is important. A great point to bring up, Kashi, is that not everybody has the same desire and the passion that we do to learn and to interact with these animals in a meaningful way, right? Some people just want a cool dog. They just want a dog that will hang out and not be a nuisance, and that they can take camping, they can take to the farmer's market, the park, and the dog is not an idiot and listens, that they open the door, the dog doesn't go, so many things. But inadvertently, they teach him how to do all these things because they reward at the wrong time, and I just don't know how to do it. But they don't want to do all the work like we do, right? They just want us to help them get to that point, and then take the relationship from there.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is the particular dog. That's why one of my favorite things, I just rebuilt my website, and one of the things that I do offer is matchmaking. So I actually go out and I'll select puppies for people. And sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes it takes a while because the dog is not the right dog for that situation, because I essentially want a stable dog like we're talking about, but where the stability is kind of baked in. And it's a challenge, but I really, really like it.
And it's something that I noticed when I started breeding and selling dogs to private people. The first litter I did, I was kind of inexperienced with puppies and with people, and I let people pick their puppies, and there were a lot of mistakes made there. And now when I sell dogs to private people, that I am the one that choose the dog, because I am the one knowing my puppies and seeing how people live, where they live, what they do in life. And no, that's not the dog for you. Well, yeah, but he's so cute. No, that's not the dog for you. If you buy a puppy from me, I will choose your puppy. The one you like because he's nice, not everything, whatever, is not the dog for you.
Yeah, it's like Kashi watching the dog that picks up the pipe, and that's the dog for him, right? But that's not the dog for anybody. Like, some people might not like that dog, and a lot of times they walk in and they see the dog that walks to them, and I'm like, not necessarily the right dog for you. Just because the dog walked to you means that dog is an independent dog. That dog is scouting you out. That dog, you kind of want a codependent dog. You kind of want the dog that some people might think is broken, but is not broken. It just needs some guidance. It's codependent. And so it's not the independent that's seeking them out. It's a lot of it is very counterintuitive, right? And then I'll bring different things.
I have a pup that eats alone, sleeps alone, and does not play with other pups. He's a loner. And I've been watching him to figure out where does this guy end up. But it turned out to be just a phase. About 15 days, he decided not to interact. And just like that, he kind of integrated into the pack. So I don't know what to make of it. But sometimes these things have a lot of people guessing, oh, is he sick? Is he deaf? Is he unwell? So sometimes over-analyzing does not help you. You have to just wait and watch it out.
Yes.
To me, it was interesting in that phase. Oh, why is he lonely? Is he like a loner? Does he not prefer dogs? Does he prefer humans? But he just displayed that for quite some time, and it just disappeared.
Yes. Well, sometimes I'll do something very chaotic that the dog doesn't see coming. Drop a pan or some big loud noise or honk or something like that, right? And even with the gun dogs, when we do hunting dogs, I'll even bring up my gun, bust off a cap, or we have the cap guns too, right? And just see, like, most dogs that I work with will run away, but the Mals and the Dutchies and stuff, they run towards the noise, right? And so And it's very interesting for me to watch. Or like 6 out of 8 of them will run towards it, and 2 of them will run the other way, right? And so you just kind of make these notes about those dogs, because that's something that we don't make. The dog is born that way, and so we have to place them in an environment that they will flourish and be, happy, right? And so
So like recently, talking about crazy things. Recently, we were attacked by a swarm of bees in the farm, and it happened that some of my pups were a little irritated by the bees, but the brunt of the bees, the most of the brunt of the bees was on my Malinois. But the place where my pups were situated at the time when the incident happened was right under the beehive. So it was under a tree shade, and the bees kind of irritated them before going on to my Malinois. And for the last few days, I've been watching them. All my wine pups, I would have assumed that my the pups would avoid that place where the incident took place. In the last week, we had a beehive keeper who came down and took down the beehive. We extracted honey, so we got our revenge. So there is still a rope hanging from the tree branch where the beehive people climbed up. In the last week, I've been noticing all my pups, they gather under the same tree and they shake violently the same rope. You would assume that if they have any memories of what happened, they would probably avoid that place. But they seem more and more attracted to that place of the incident, and they play ferociously with the rope. In fact, the rope has now been torn apart by all these 5 pups. And I keep thinking, do they know what happened, or is it just a rope hanging there? Because my entire place has a lot of places for the pups to go play, yank ropes, bite into stuff, but they all seem to gather at the same spot repetitively. So again, something to learn from us. It's just what's happening. Why do these pups going there? You'll never know the answers unless you just keep observing them. Maybe it's just 1-2 pup which is going and the rest of the pups following them, or all the pups actively going there.
Who knows? Maybe they got a little endorphin rush.
They like bite you.
Yeah. Well, you need to get to work, Joaquin.
Yeah.
What are you guys thinking? I want to know. So, how do people you have a gold school coming up, don't you?
Yeah, I have one on February 10th starting. Especially for French people, because the Silver School Online in French was released like a month ago or something. So there's a few people around that were looking for gold schools. And since we are only 2 French gold multiplicators, so Jerome is doing one, I think, this week, and I will do one in 2 weeks.
Okay. The 10th through the 14th, so the Valentine's Day.
Yep.
Give everybody a Valentine for
so so I'm welcoming people here at my place in south of France, and they will bring their dogs, and also we'll have to work with puppies, green dogs I have. They will work like 5 to 10 dogs a day.
Okay.
For 5 days.
That's the beautiful thing about Gold School, is that the Silver School is theory, and then the Gold School is all about the hands on the dogs.
Yeah. That's my favorite part. And I did a few one-on-one, but I like 4 or 5 people. It's great because people can learn from each other and interact.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And the role playing too, and have different scenarios, different situations, and fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah. And it's also, dog training is also about exchanging and sharing. So one-on-one, you only share with one people, and I think it's a richer environment when we are more people.
Yes, I think so too. Strength in numbers, but also much more, a lot more dogs watching people work through problems or learning, right? And when people do come to your school, what is some of the foundation that you want their dog to have already?
I just ask for clicker training. I want a clicker charge. So when we start school, we don't have to spend days just charging the clicker, because it's only 5 days, and there's a lot to go over during go school. So I ask people to come with their clicker charge.
Beautiful.
And then I give them also a little bit of homework, and that's it.
Yeah, a little review of what they learned in silver, and especially if they've done it online. You know, just make sure that they know some of the principles before they start to really start to apply them.
Yep.
And you know, charging the clicker, if you don't charge your clicker before you go to the school, you're going to waste your time.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Absolutely.
So I agree. It needs to be charged rock solid. And let me show you guys too. I want to show you the puppies that are clicker trained that you posted up, Kash. And then Kashi, you're doing, how many gold schools have you done yet?
Just one with Jacqueline.
Okay.
So I need to come back again.
Yeah, man, you need to come up here. Come up to Seattle.
I almost saw you. Remember when I was with Heather, we just crossed over to the borders of Washington.
Yeah, we've had a couple of close calls, but nothing yet, man. But we got it. We'll make it happen. You know. Here, I want to see. I saw these clicker charge. Anything else you guys want to mention before we hit the road? Oh, here.
I like this. We just woke up in the morning. We called each other, and here we are on a podcast.
Yeah, that was great. That was great.
Yeah, and you know what? This is the best way to do it too. He's like, let's just do it. Let's make it happen. And you guys are both my friends, and I appreciate you having you in my life. And you know, this is what we need to do as professionals, is be able to, you know, call on each other, or you know, if we have any problems, any questions, that we have a brain trust that is nice and large, and at the end of the day, it benefits the dogs, and that's what we're in this for, right?
Yeah. Actually, yes, I agree. And I must say, Bill, I was really pleased and grateful to meet you at Silver School, because we had a really nice time, and you are a great guy to know.
Oh, thank you, buddy. Yeah, likewise. And I can't wait to meet you, Kash. I want to come to India too, man. So, and I want to come to
you
France.
guys will love India. You guys will love India. The fantastic opportunity would be to come to India, teach, and then tour India. There's so much.
Yeah.
But you guys missed the best season. This was the best season. And now the heat begins, and it's horrible heat. March to about October is a bad time. It's especially in the northern part of the India where I stay. It gets hotter, humid.
Okay.
So October to February are the times that you should be planning.
Okay. Good to know.
And it's so much to see.
Yeah, I love India. I watch videos on India all the time. And what I want to do too is I sent
a video to Joaquim on ignition. So I'll make sure that you guys have that food when you come to India. It's nothing but bunch of garlic and
curry,
chilies pounded together.
Yeah.
With a little bit of salt and lemon.
Yeah.
You have it. I swear you will understand what ignition truly means.
Yeah.
Just seeing that video, it's quite a challenge.
Yeah, I don't like hot stuff. I don't like spicy stuff. So I'll be SOL.
So if you don't have ignition, we'll make sure ignition can be built.
All right, you guys. Well, let's say you guys stay there, okay? Because we're going to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for watching, you guys. And
thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Best way to get a hold of you guys is on Facebook, you think, or
Facebook
Messenger.
Okay. All right, you guys stay there. Bye, everybody.
Bye.